Hello YouTube, Yucca here with my 11th guide on Java development. We'll be looking at Accces Modifiers. Accces Modifiers provide restriction to your Java code, or they provide greater accessibility. And to demonstrate this, firstly we need to discuss that for the larger part, Accces Modifiers are related to the packaging or the directory structure of your Java class files, and also the members located within these Java class files. We haven't really discussed members, but simply put, members of a Java class file include instance variables, as is specified here, as we got into in previous tutorial or two, and methods, which we discussed in our previous tutorial, and one last member which we haven't discussed as yet, and we'll do in a separate tutorial because it does fall under quite a broad category which we can do a tutorial for. But our class files can also contain inner class files, or they can contain member class files, and we refer to these as nested class files or inner class files. And this is possibly the last member that can go within a Java class file, along with fields or variables and our methods, which we discussed in previous tutorials. Now, just to show you an inner class which is relevant for this tutorial, the inner class is as simple as just creating a class within a class. Just remove my caps lock here, sorry. And so we can specify a class within a class, also known as a nested class. And a typical use for a nested class and an outdated methodology to test-driven development, which we'll get into in these tutorials, is to create a nested or inner class which will test your class of which it is a member, also known as the parent class or the outer class. So for the sake of this tutorial, we'll create a test user class, and like all classes and methods and so forth, we'll need a body as follows. Note that I don't have any errors here in my integrated development environment, and if I run the code and I'll just modify the message here just to verify, and we have one user created in class with two methods. We'll just modify the message here, no errors, and one user created in user. Just update the message just to verify with you. I'm not pulling any tricks here or anything. So just run the code here. I don't have any errors here in my integrated development environment, and the code that I added here for the test user inner class is perfectly valid. And getting back to Accces Modifiers. Now, Accces Modifiers are directly linked to package structures and therefore directory structures, and there are several Accces Modifiers available to us, and we'll look at some of these and along with where they can be placed. Now, the first and most obvious Accces Modifier, given that we've dealt with the main method quite extensively in these tutorials thus far, is the public Accces Modifier. Our public access upon the code, in this case the method on which it is applied, provides the greatest accessibility to the code or the member, in this case, on which it is applied. Our main method is publicly accessible, and it's accessible therefore to any other Java class files, irrespective of the directories within which they are located. Now, to demonstrate this for this tutorial, I've had to create other packages, and I've created 3 directories here. Remember, packages are just representations of directories in which your Java code is placed. So I've created the database package, which contains our user.java class file, and I've created a graphical user interface package. It contains a window.java class file, and I have a utility package. It contains an address.java class file, and the address.java class file will be used to represent objects of address type. And I'm just going to move this just for temporarily. I'm just going to cut Control Exit, and I'm going to put it in my database package. And so we have 2 class files located in the same package. Now, getting back to the user.java class file, and note here that we have two Java class files in our database directory. We'll look at the user.java class file first. The user.java class file is marked without an access modifier. The absence of an access modifier specifies that the user.java class file is able to be used within and only within the same package as within which it is located. In other words, to be able to use the user.java class file, a class file has to be located within, or the user.java class file for that matter, has to be located as in the same package as the class that wishes to use it, and I'll demonstrate that to you in this tutorial by looking at the address.java class file. Now, the address.java class file is located, it's got an error here, I'll just fix it. The error is because I moved it from the database, from the utility package. Anyway, I rectified it now. The address.java class file belongs in the same package as the user.java class file. They're both in the database package. And if I go to my user.java class file, and if I go to my address.java class file, and I remove the public access modifier, and we are giving this class a default access. Default access is done through the lack of an access modifier. Now, default access in this case implies that our address.java class file can be used by class files that are located in the same package. And to verify this with you, we'll create another instance variable here. We won't instantiate it, we'll just specify the data type here of address, and we'll give it an identifier of address1, and just end it with a, see there's no errors here, and I can run the code again. So we're able to use the address.java data class as a data type to instantiate or to create address objects out of. Perfectly reasonable. Users can expect to have addresses, and we can create address objects out of address classes to represent user addresses. So we'll continue to develop and work on our user.java class file as we go along. And anyway, getting back to access modifiers and so forth. Now, our address.java class file can only be used currently with default access, in other words no access modifier, by our user.java class file based on the fact that they are in the same package. To demonstrate this, I'll move the address.java class file again. I'll control exit, and I'll move it to a different package. I'll move it to a utility package. It shouldn't really belong there, but this is just for the sake of demonstration, and I'll control V it. So now our address.java class file is in a different package than the database package. I go in there, there's no address.java class file, and if I go back to my example project here, you'll see I have an error now, and the error is related to the fact that I've moved the address class. You'll see there that the address it gives me a warning here, I cannot use the address, and this is based on the fact that I have a user.java class file located in a different package. I've specified on my address.java class file default access, and default access is only, you can only use default access provided that the classes are located within the same Java class files. Now, this further extends to members of a Java class file, and if we go back to our user.java class file, we can place access modifiers on constructors. And just to give you an example here, we'll go to one of our constructors. We have a public user constructor here, and we have a protected user constructor, and the whole purpose behind access modifiers are to block or to provide access to, as an example, should we wish to provide a default constructor with public accessibility, we provide, or we ensure that irrespective of directory structures or applications, we can share this user Java class file with other developers. We can package it as a library and distribute it as code to other developers, and they'll be able to access and use the user.java class file, or they'll be able to create or instantiate user objects, at least based on the fact that we have a public access modifier on the user. They won't, however, be able to use or interact with this constructor over here should we mark this as private. And private is the least accessible or the most restrictive access modifier that you can place on your code. And just a rectifier, so we still have the address error here, and we'll get back to the fact the address again is now located, or the address class is located in a different package. As specified already in this tutorial, we can rectify this by providing the greatest access modifier available to us. First, let's rectify we'll just make sure that the address.java class file is located in the utility package now, so we'll just rectify the package statement up here just to get rid of all the errors and so forth. And we've provided it with the access modifier of public, just no errors here, it's able to be used. If I go back to my user.java class file, the address, I should be able to use it now, but one last thing is I need to import, because it's located in a separate package. Remember, I tried to bring the concept about in the first tutorials. You can picture it as borrowing a book from someone else's bookshelf. You need permission to do so, and to do so you need to import it. I'm going to import the org.java.database. Just make sure here, or utility package, sorry, and try and create, so we have our access to our address object now. There's no errors here, and we'll just run the user.java class file, and we'll update the message here with two methods. Import of class from different package. I'm just doing this so to show you that the code is updated as I go along. So now we'll get the message here that I've just provided. Just close it off here, so forth, and so just rectify this, just get rid of the mess here. Anyway, just to verify that the code is working, see I've updated the message here. I'll just add here with two methods, and the user class file makes use of the address. Just to give you an updated message here, I'm going to run this Java code again. You'll see the message here. So this just verifies that the code here is working and so forth. Now, getting back to access modifiers. Access modifiers provide restrictability or accessibility to not just your Java class files, and based upon the packaging structure, and also the imports of Java class files located in other packages and other directories. Now, the last thing we need to discuss with regards to access modifiers and accessibility of fields or variables and methods and so forth are de facto members of Java class files. So members of Java class files, including our nested classes or inner classes, are always able to access other members of the same Java class files. In other words, all our variables here and all our fields here for that matter and all our methods here are able to interact with each other, provided of course that we've instantiated a user object and that we have an identifier or a reference variable to interact with the user object which we create. So without instantiating or without creating a new user object, some of these entities or some of these members won't be able to be accessed. Now with regards to an inner Java class file, an inner Java class is special in that we can put an access modifier of public, as I'll do here, just to clean up here quickly, and we can provide a private class, inner class, and we can do so as follows. I'll just ignore that for now. But anyway, just to burn the concept in, access modifiers are related to your packaging structure. And if we go to our, just to burn this in, if we go back to our, we see that our user.java class file is in a different package to our address.java class file. And if we remove the public access modifier on the address.java class file, over here note that it's publicly accessible, it's located in a different package to the user.java class file. If I remove the public access modifier and make it default, this address.java class file will only be able to be used by class files located in the same package. In other words, if I go back to my user.java class file, I have an error now. I'm not able to use the address.java class file. I have two options here. Either I need to provide public access modifier, or I can place the, or I can replace, if I go to the address.java class file here, control exit, I'll need to put it in, if you just give me a sec here, just cut it, and I'm going to go to the same package as the user class file, control V it, paste it, and if I go back to my integrated development environment, and you'll see I don't have any errors now. The address.java class file, I'm able to use it even though it has no access modifier, and if I go to, and I have no, well, I have a public access modifier, and if I remove that, I'm still able, or I should still be able to use the address.java class file based on that it's located in the same package. I just need to rectify, I moved the address.java class file, and I need to go here and just make sure that I specify the correct package. It's in the database package again, and if I go to my user.java class file, I just remove that, but note that I'm still able to use the address data type here to create or instantiate address objects out of for my user object. We'll continue with the user object as we go along. Now we can also specify, or we can create inner class files, and we can create, as an example, test user as an inner class file or a member of our user.java class file, and classes need bodies. Still don't have any errors here, and we'll look at the access modifiers that we have available to us, and just complete this tutorial. Hope you get the basic concept of access modifiers. Access modifiers, they impact the ability of not just your variables and methods to be used by other classes based on the location or the package structures of these Java class files, and access modifiers, with regards to a top level class, we only have the ability to have a public access modifier, or the lack of an access modifier, or default access for that matter. But when it comes to members of a Java class file, including nested Java classes, we are able to provide private access, protected access, and default access, and so forth. Now, the scope of access modifiers is very broad, and to get a full concept of it, I encourage you to go to the Oracle tutorials, and to demonstrate this, I'll include things like protected access modifiers and so forth, which only become relevant once we've gotten through object-oriented principles like encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. And I'm unable to demonstrate all access modifiers in this tutorial, especially protected access modifier and private and so forth, properly, until we get through object-oriented programming concepts like inheritance, encapsulation, and polymorphism. But as a brief introduction to access modifiers, I hope this tutorial assists you and provides you with sufficient information. Thank you for watching.